Hey everybody, Scott here at Botw Brewing, here for the Beer of the Week. This week we're going to talk about beer in America. Where are we with beer in America? It's a big, deep subject. I could talk about this for way too long. So we'll kind of summarize. Beer has been around forever. Beer's been around for 6,000 years, maybe longer. Sometime between then and now, different places developed different styles of beers based on ingredients that were available to them, what their brewing customs were. So depending where you went in the world, pre-Americas, you'd run into different beers in different places. The lighter beers that we're used to here originated in modern-day Czech Republic and Germany. And in America, most of the breweries, the original breweries in America were started by German immigrants, which is how we ended up being a light beer country. Pilsners and such were the beers that these people brewed, because that was what they knew how to brew, and it was what they liked to drink. Early on, beer didn't travel. There wasn't refrigeration, and then when there was a refrigeration, it wasn't convenient, or not what it is now. Beer wasn't as popular as it is now. Beer was consumed close to where it was brewed, soon after it was brewed, because there wasn't refrigeration. It didn't stay fresh. Technology advanced that as refrigeration became the norm. Larger breweries became larger because they were distributing to different areas. So as this happened, there used to be more breweries, not more than now, but more than in the 70s, 80s. But as with refrigeration, as things progressed, larger breweries bought up smaller breweries. Some of the smaller breweries just went out of business. You had fewer and fewer breweries, fewer and fewer brands. You had less variation, less variety in what was available. And then, I don't know where I'm going exactly with timeline here, but Prohibition happened. Prohibition sucked. Not just because Prohibition sucked, but Prohibition closed down so many breweries and distilleries and such. Some made it through because they made other products. They made, soft drinks or what have you. They were able to pivot and do something else to keep themselves in operation. Some of these are still around. You've got Anheuser-Busch for one, Yuengling out east, Shell's in Minnesota, Shiner in Texas. There are others also, but there were a lot of breweries that went under. After Prohibition was repealed, interestingly, as soon as it was repealed, everybody had beer ready to go. Everybody who was still around had beer ready to go. That's maybe another story. World War II was another big hit on breweries, with rationing of products. It was tough for anybody it was tough for everybody. World War II sucked worse than Prohibition did. Coming out of that, again, fewer breweries, less variation in what was available. Everybody was brewing arguably a different version of the same thing. You had the breweries that were big breweries that were buying up smaller breweries, a lot of smaller breweries going out of business. So you went from regional breweries to larger national breweries. And they didn't want to brew different things for different areas. They wanted to brew the same thing for everybody. And they started using rice, a word with, that's very famous, who uses rice. Other brands were using corn for the same reason. It lightens the flavor of the beer, makes it a little more, I don't want to say palatable, It's I don't want to say bland either, but yeah, it makes it a safer product. It's very inoffensive. It's easy to drink, and it's also cheaper to brew that way. This continued up through the 60s, where bigger brands were gobbling up smaller brands. And in the 70s, light beer came about, and regardless of what publicity might have told anybody, light beer was really about brewing cheaper beer. Yes, it's fewer calories and whatever other benefits might come from that, but it was really about numbers. The advent of light beer was about brewing cheaper beer, which also, it's bland. In the 70s, Jimmy Carter legalized homebrewing, which people were homebrewing, like people were moonshining and, making basement wine and whatever. But Jimmy Carter legalized homebrewing, and it didn't explode right away, but people were homebrewing. And in the late 70s, there were a couple people who opened breweries. I don't know that craft brewery was the term at the time, but that was the beginning of that. In the 80s, there were more. It became a bigger thing. And as it started to get some attention and people started enjoying these different beers, which in the beginning would have been classic European styles. But it's different beers with more flavor and different flavors and different colors. As this started to catch on, there were a lot of homebrewers jumped on the bandwagon and opened breweries. And it's what's referred to as the first wave of craft beer. And it exploded. And there was, I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but there was tons of new breweries opened, tiny little breweries opened up. And a lot of them were not making good beer. It's just the quality wasn't there, and that crashed. And there are still some of those breweries around. Sierra Nevada is the first one that pops to mind, but there are others that came, Boston Beer, Samuel Adams. There are still, yes, Summit in Minnesota also was one of these breweries that made it through, made good beer, and they're still around today. As we got into the late 90s, into the 2000s, there was a resurgence of it. There was more people interested in doing this again. People were looking for more interesting beers. But this time around, most of the people who jumped in to start breweries were more careful about it. They were more educated. They knew more about the craft. They were making better beer. So it was more sustainable. You didn't, the climb, the increase wasn't as sharp, and there wasn't the huge decline afterwards. Not that nobody has gone out of business. This is small business after all, and not everybody makes it. I don't know the number off the top of my head right now, how many craft breweries there are in the country, but it's mind-boggling. I don't know if it's 10,000, but it's closer to 10 than it is to 5. It's insane how many small breweries there are in the country now. And with that has come a huge variety in what's available. The different classic styles of beers, variations from those styles of beers, regional differences in those beers, hybrids of those beers. It's the beer scene today is just insane. How much variety is out there? How many different beers? With the different styles and the development of styles. An IPA, the original IPA came from England, and it was a hoppy beer, and it was relatively high alcohol, but it would have been sweeter than what we're used to. It would have been. There are still some people making that style of beer, but it's not what most people now think of as IPA. There's the West Coast IPA, the American West Coast IPA that people think of that's bitter. There's New England IPAs, which is a relatively new thing that started out in New England, and it was the same ingredients going into the beer, basically, but used in a different way that came out with a different product. It's still an IPA, but it's very different, and that was quick to spread across the country. Sours are another thing. Sour beer used to be, you had a kettle sour beer or a fermented sour beer, but there was not a huge variety in what you were getting there. But yeah, sour beers today, it's insane, the variety in sours, in the way that they're made, and the adjuncts, the fruits, the different ingredients that are put into them. It's just this huge variety. It's a wide world of beer. Anyway, I could talk about this all night, but we've got to cut it off here at some point. If you would like to talk about this some more, I'd love if you come in the brewery, grab a pint, and we will talk about beer, all things beer. I love it. So coming up, we've got, as always on Wednesday, we got trivia. We do trivia every Wednesday night at 7 o'clock. We've been doing this for, I don't know, several years, 4 years? Wow, 4 years. Yeah, it's, I don't know, it's consistently a good time. Yeah, if you've not been out to trivia, I'd highly suggest coming out and checking it out. We do have a competition going, a year-long competition going with trivia. But if you don't want to participate in that, there's no pressure. You don't have to participate. You can just come out and do trivia for one night and have fun. If you are participating in the year-long trivia competition, we keep track of your standings, and here they are. Thursday nights, we do a pizza special here at the brewery. It's 1 Johnny B's frozen pizza, 2 pints of beer for $20. The Johnny B's frozen pizza is really good frozen pizza. We've got pretty decent pizza ovens here that come out good. The beer's great. So $20 is cheap. Come on out on Thursday and we'll cook for you. On Saturday, the 21st, we have our second bacon bingo of the season. This is put on by the VCSU Athletic Boosters Club. It's exactly what it sounds like. We play bacon and win bingo. It's $1 a card, just standard straight bingo, nothing fancy. And yeah, every game somebody wins a pound of bacon. Starts at 2 o'clock. Come on in and get your seat because people really like this. So, bacon and beer. What more could you want, right? It's the holiday season. If you're planning, if it's up to you to plan a holiday party for work or family or whatever, if you're looking for a place to host an event, the brewery is available. You can get a hold of us here. We can set aside a couple tables for a small group, or if you need to reserve the whole place, we can arrange that as well. Get a hold of us here at the tap room or message us on Facebook and we'll work out the details. All right, everybody, that's all I got for this week. Thank you for tuning in and listening to me talk. I am Scott, and this has been the Beer of the Week.